Are we gonna greet the people or are we just gonna jump right in?
Hello.
Hi.
Hello, individual who is listening to this podcast alone in their bedroom.
We're making this podcast basically. Um, I don't know, Jewish. You can chime in,
Alright.
but we're
We're making this podcast in response to a very in-depth look at the warding blog that Jagex released, which pretty much outlined why warding is flawed the way that Jagex wanted to introduce it to the game. And I, for one, at least think that this guy had a lot of really good points.
Mhm.
And while I agree with some of them, I definitely disagree with some as well. So I thought that would kind of be interesting to talk about.
Yeah, and I think that yeah, I think we have a interesting perspective in that we're both pretty relatively average players, coming from, you know, relatively average player backgrounds, playing for a hugely long time. Um, I don't know. I think we have kind of a weird perspective because while we disagree on a lot of things. I come from more of an Ironman perspective, playing, very Ironman for, 5-6 years now. And Jewish, you come in from more of a hashtag main account,
Yeah,
going for maxed. Uh,
yeah.
yeah,
I
it's
guess I
good.
guess
It's
my
good
perspective
stuff.
is, I guess my perspective had a lot more like view on the economy of the game because it would actually impact how I play.
Yeah. So let's jump into it. First thing we need to. Okay, so warding. The first thing you even have to consider is it's being proposed as a skill. And
Yeah,
the first thing that guy brought up in his post was like, what is the essence of a skill? And I think
not warding.
not wording, but really what he was getting at, and correct me if I'm wrong, because you read it as well, and it's
Yeah.
it's sort of open to interpretation in certain bits, but um, kind of what he was getting at was basically that a skill should be something that seems inherent, seems obvious. There's nothing else that really fits it, does the thing that it does.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah. And also the name of the skill was something that he put a lot of emphasis on.
mhm.
So like pretty much every single skill that you read, you can pretty much tell what it does just by reading it, right? No one's getting surprised by woodcutting,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Uh, in any case, uh, I think that my biggest problem with warding being a skill per se is that everything that warding aims to do can be done by something else. You know, like the only niche in my mind that warding could have is the imbues. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the only thing that I can't imagine any other piece of content handling. But you
Yeah.
could even argue that like Mage could handle that, or runecrafting even with the Cerberus boots is practically
Yeah.
imbuing.
Now, what this guy said, like coming off of that, so the naming thing, he specifically pointed out runecrafting, and he proposed a more apt name for it, runecraft, meaning the craft of rune, which is a bit more ambiguous than runecrafting.
It's already called runecraft.
It is?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm dumb.
he
Wait,
he
well, I
uh
thought it
he
was
was
called rune. Wait, no way.
it's called runecraft. He proposed runology.
Is that what he did?
Hmm.
Oh, jeez. All right.
We'll cut that bit out. It's fine.
No, really, that fit in? Are you kidding me? I'm retarded. This
Yeah,
is why we're
he
both here.
proposed runology because that would actually include like a way broader
Oh no, shit.
variety of stuff.
Okay, so
Um,
so it's runology then. Um, so basically the proposition is to basically take all the wording shit that's good and put it in rune crafting to basically fix rune crafting and like
Mm.
make it not useless and the worst thing ever. Because
Yeah,
that
and
would
also put it into like crafting, put it into magic, so pretty much tie it into the already existing skills. Because
exactly.
the rework aspect of warding, the fact that mage armor sucks, is something which would be nice if it was sorted out. That's for sure.
That's true. Yeah. So
Uh,
well, do we want to get to we can
all right, so I
so
think that warding as a skill, or warding as like an entity, let's say,
mm,
has a couple of mechanics which I really like and a couple which I don't. Right, so I think that this whole idea of being able to farm like silkworms and spin that new type of flax or that new type of silk from the silkworms into certain cloths to make this stuff is awesome.
yeah, I
I
think that's
really, really like that.
so cool, especially for my account, which I'm not going to talk about right now, but for my account it's amazing. It's such an interesting and cool mechanic that would be awesome.
As well as you could make it something like, all right, you got this silk or whatever and you spun it into cloth, and then maybe you need to enchant it with magic, right? Maybe you need to like cast like level 3 enchant on it in order to get the specific fabric needed to do the thing.
Yeah.
uh
That's interesting. Wait, go back to that. So you're saying basically you use magic to enchant the so like you make it with runecraft and you imbue it with like runic energy or whatever the fuck. And
well,
then
it would be like you make the silk or the
uh-huh.
cloth or the fabric with crafting, like at a
Uh-huh.
spinning wheel,
Hmm.
right? Then you enchant it with magic, right?
So that's
And
gonna
then you
cost
take
runes?
it
That's gonna be
somewhere. Yeah, yeah,
like enchanting a tiara or some shit. Like or not, not a
yeah.
tiara, but enchanting like a
Like
ring.
enchanting jewelry.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you would maybe take it to a rune crafting altar, or you would take it somewhere, and that's when you would actually craft the armor itself. Of course, you don't
Right.
necessarily need to take it to a rune crafting altar. You could make a million different ways of solving that issue. But I think, yeah,
I don't know
I
if I'd
think you
be a
could also
huge
make it with
fan.
crafting.
I don't
Like,
know if I'd be a huge fan. So here's RS3 did that. That's how. So RS3 obviously has
yeah,
already addressed this issue. It's because it's a sort of
mm,
an inevitable issue with a you know they created a triforce of combat triangle, and then they
mm,
didn't fully flesh out all of them. They fleshed out melee and they half-assed range, and then they just left mage to kind of like fill in, like find the leftovers, right?
yeah.
Which sort of created this weird situation where mage is like this really sought after. It's like really powerful and really strong, but it's so expensive and it's really hard. Um, so like if if you're a strong mage, that's really impressive, and so that's sort of
Mhm.
crafted a weird culture around the combat triangle. Um, but at the same time, it hasn't really produced a balanced game. Um, which means that it's weird. The world of RuneScape is weird, and I personally would like to see more balance introduced into RuneScape. Um, Nothing game breaking, but just balanced.
Yes, like obviously from the perspective of someone who wants to level up an account, right? Leveling up magic is pretty much you just stick on whatever armor you want because your armor doesn't matter, right? And you buy a bunch of mind runes and you go and use Fire Strike for 6 hours. Like I don't know, I don't really know how. Oh look, I can craft this new robe at level 10 magic or whatever, or like level 10 crafting or level 10 whatever would like I don't know how that would change the current
Yeah,
like paradigm, so to speak.
yeah, yeah. I don't know either. I don't think anybody
Although
knows.
the other part of warding was the dissolving of stuff, right? That was like the big
Yes,
proposal is you could gain like a very small amount of
yes.
XP from
Let's
just
talk about
dissolving
that.
shit.
Yes.
Now, I don't. Okay, so there is obviously a comparison that's going to be made to Invention in RuneScape 3, right? It's
Obviously.
unavoidable.
Obviously.
But where I think there is a distinct difference, right, is now, correct me if I'm wrong, I haven't actually done Invention in RS3 at all. I barely played that game.
Mm-hmm.
But the way that I understand it is you dismantle the item,
Mm-hmm.
right, in old school,
Mm-hmm.
and you would have a chance of getting back like the material that it's made from. That's a whole nother can of worms. But you would get back this substance, right? I think they called it Viz in the promotional
Yes.
stuff.
And that actually also ties into another piece of RS3 lore, but we won't go there.
Yeah. Now, it seems to me like this is just alking. Because right now, if you have a thing that you don't want and it's not worth like pretty much anything to you, you either alk it or you drop it.
True.
Right?
True. I would agree with
And
that.
if you end up dismantling everything, right, then all right, you're not generating GP into the game, but you're generating this brand new thing, which is in essence the same thing as GP. It just
Mm-hmm.
has a different use.
Mm-hmm.
It would obviously be different if different items gave different types of viz, but then you're also convoluting the entire process, right? By like, I don't know, I feel like it's this kind of, it's like we already have a mechanic for that, you know? And then there are rampant gold sinks in the game to try and deal with it. And it seems
Yeah.
to me like this is trying to be like a pseudo gold more than anything else.
So, here's what I'll say. I feel that I would like to see um I don't know. I have dang it, this is so complicated. I would like to see personally things that currently have less value that are like at alc value. I'd like to see them have more value.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to see a rune scimitar that's worth 50k because that's what they were worth back in the day. Um, but
I mean,
that's not the reality, and it's really not that big of a deal because not that much of the actual player base that's active is really using rune scimitars. Most of them have moved
mm,
well beyond that.
yeah.
Um, so it's sort of a it's a weird thing that as an Ironman I kind of like, and this is why I play Ironman mode, right? It's because the economy is what the economy is, and I don't like it. So I kind of
Mm-hmm. That's
so
fair
I'm
enough.
I'm really not fit to make calls on the economy, but I would like to see some sort of item sync that at least ensures that certain items, and they've already done things like the whip being a consumable to have a
Yeah.
tent whip and stuff
That's
like
really
that.
good.
That was a brilliant
Whips
idea
have like doubled in
because
price.
like in RS3 whips are literally like 20k. They're 100k because they're
Yeah.
out value. Um, but it's just sad some of that stuff, and that's part of what Invention fixed was because RS3 had done so much damage, and I think that I guess I have so many scars from what RS3 did.
Mm,
Um, that item sinks are just such a great thing in my mind always.
yeah.
Um, I want them. I want more item sinks always. Because there can never be enough because there are millions of these things. Because I'm not going to go there, but there's so many of these things going into the game every day that you just don't even realize.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's a fair point. And I mean, I guess right now the reason that you don't notice it is because of all the new players.
Yeah.
Like everyone who got on with the mobile hype train is just now getting to the point on their account where they want to have a BCP and they want to have TASIs, and those things have gone up in price considerably over the
Yeah,
past couple
we have seen
couple
that
months.
trend. We have seen that trend. And but
As
at the
well as
same
whips like
time,
3 mil or some shit.
yeah, but at the same time though, I mean that's just the game, right? Like that's if that's just how the game's
Hmm.
going to go, it's how it's going to go. The economy in the end is going to show the true worth of something.
Yeah.
Um, so all, if a rune scimitar is at alc value, then I guess that just means that they over alch value was too high on the Rune Scimitar, and that was just a bad design choice from their perspective.
Really?
Yeah, if a Rune Scimitar is actually worth less than alch value, but it's just worth alch value because it's worth alch value, then the Rune Scimitar was made too expensive. It was worth too much as an alch item because it's not worth enough as a combat item to be worth more than its alch value. The alch value of something theoretically from a purely game design perspective should be less than its actual trade value.
Hmm. I don't think that that's how, at least, like alch value is designed in old school.
Oh, I don't think that's how it necessarily was designed either, but I'm talking about from like again balance.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love balance.
Um,
It's beaten to my
because
head.
alch value is there. Alch value exists so that the thing that you're killing, like if you join the game 10 years too late and you're killing the same thing that everyone and their sister has been killing for 10 years, your drops are still worth something.
I think that was a happy accident that sort of came out of the yeah, there are a lot of things in RuneScape that I think were happy accidents that I don't think the Gower brothers were planning on. I think they were just making a true to form RPG from the ground up.
Yeah.
And they were in very uncharted territories. They were looking to other games as what they had done, but trying to put their own twist on it. Um,
Mm.
and I think they made a lot of mistakes, but they made the right mistakes. And they stumbled onto a lot of great little secrets, little weird things. Um, but you can't deny that looking at this. So for anyone listening who's still listening to this and hasn't clicked away yet, um, my background's in game development, so I've studied very deeply game design and just like the principles of how you design a good player experience. And RuneScape breaks like all of the rules. They don't follow any of the rules, and they just throw them out the window and they say bye player experience. I don't care. And it's terrible, but somehow we all love it and somehow we all have fun, and that's why it's really interesting to talk about um, the design and how stuff works out in RuneScape because it's really weird.
Mm.
Sorry, that's like a little side tangent there.
Yeah, no. I think it's really interesting because
But
I've never seen alch value as like, if the item's at alch value, there's a problem. Like to me, that's just how it's gonna be, right? Like,
mhm. Yeah, and I think I mean I'm probably just jumping at spiders. I think the people who play who are in the economy more and the people who are designing the game now, I think they probably know better how to avoid the issues that happened in RuneScape 3 better than I do,
mm.
probably. But still, I just can't help but love item sinks. That's all.
in the
That's my
short
bit.
term,
This whole
in the short term,
yeah.
right? If you were to start dissolving everything because warding just came out and you want to get your warding level up because you're a hipster, right?
It's
You
gonna give
start doing
token
warding.
XP.
Yeah, but let's say you start doing warding, right? I
Uh-huh.
feel like people are going to be happy with token XP, right? Like,
Mhm.
I would be at least, especially if it's profitable.
Like I can tell
Now,
you when Invention came out, I immediately disassembled 30,000 unstrung willow bows.
yeah, no, but I mean like, so in the short term, the prices of literally everything are going to go through the roof, right? People are going to be buying up fucking every alchable item in the game to disassemble.
Yeah.
And when that dies down, is it really gonna fix the fact that a rune skimmy is not like 100k? It's like 20 or
Well,
something.
I think the larger question here, I guess what I'm trying to get at is I don't think we need it. despite the fact that I love it and I want to see it, regardless of the fact, I don't think for the health of the game from a completely objective
Mm,
standpoint, I don't think we need it. Subjectively, I want it. I want it so bad because I have that
mm.
fear. But I don't think, if I put on a brave face and I have faith in our developers over at Jagex, you know, and I truly believe, I think that
Yeah.
I think we could get away without it. Um, Now, granted, the developers at Jagex are putting this in front of us, so
Yeah, right.
the faith might be misplaced. But I think we
Uh,
can do better than a rip off, like an old school version of Invention. I think we can do better.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so moving past dissolving and Viz and
Hold
all of
on.
that. Oh,
Before we move past this, one of the suggestions which I really liked was the one of like, let's say there's a guy who's really into bandos, right? And you give him a Bandos God sword, a full set of Bandos armor, and then some random Bandos clue scroll items, right?
mm-hmm,
And he'll give you some super cool, untradeable item that you cannot get any other way.
mm-hmm. That's
That
pretty cool.
is kind of like an item sync, right? It's kind of like a prestige thing of,
That's pretty cool. And it acts as an
look at
item
me.
sync specific for like specific items that you want to see get out of the game. Things like god
Yeah.
pages. Because so like if it was any
Mm,
Bandos item, people could just like buy 20 god pages and just be done with it.
yeah.
Right?
And
But
then all the Bandos items would kind of level out. At least the very, very cheap ones would get boosted in price.
yeah, right. Like it would definitely. I think there could be tiers to that. So like if you
Yeah.
sacrifice 10 low, like consider like low tier Bandos items, you get like, so there's tiers for so everybody can kind of get into it and have that sort of
Mm,
swag, like, hey, I just burned 10 mil to get this cool hat,
mm.
right? And
It would be really
that's
cool if
neat.
it
But
was
then there's
like
another
the
one. There's another one that's even like there's a bigger like a cool looking chest plate or something that's like
mm,
you have to sacrifice 20 Bandos plate bodies to get that thing, and that's like
yeah,
whoa,
yeah.
right? But it's purely cosmetic, and you're just
It would
trying to
be
help the
really
economy.
cool. It'd be really, really cool if it was like the bird's nest in Woodcutting Guild. You know, you go there and you sacrifice your eggs that you get from bird's nest. If you could
Oh
go to a
really?
place and sacrifice these items, and like it was like you had a chance of getting a really cool thing from it.
That's pretty cool. What do you get from the from sacrificing the eggs? I didn't know about this.
An evil chicken outfit.
Oh, get out! I have some eggs.
It looks hilarious. It is
No,
like
no, I've seen the evil chicken. I always wondered how you got it.
um
That's
yeah.
nuts. Nice.
From a completionist standpoint, you need to have money in miscellanea all the time to get enough nests to get that outfit for the collection log.
That's actually wild.
Because actually getting those nests from woodcutting is really rare now because of all the new things they've added and like the clue scroll nests and just it's a nightmare to get those nests now.
That's wild. Okay, so um what is next?
Combat stuff, perhaps?
Wait, did we talk about fixing mage? We can cut this
So,
bit out if
somewhat.
we need to.
Somewhat.
We kind of we touched on it.
We touched about the leveling experience right at the start.
Yeah. I do want to talk about real quick the free to play aspect to this. Because I think regardless of whether or not warding comes into the game, this should 100%. All the free to play mage gear.
Mm.
I think that's awesome. I think that's super cool. It gets me excited about the possibilities for how that'll change the free to play PKing meta. Um, because that could get really interesting now that there would be like some viable, theoretically tier 40 mage gear in free to play. Like that's really cool. So you can start seeing like free to play tribrids which would be weird but really
Yeah.
cool. And I would for sure get onto my pure and like make it a freaking free to play tribrid. Why not? That'd be fun, man.
I don't know. I can't really say what the PKing feels like in free to play.
Feels bad right now. I'll tell you
Like
that.
I would assume it doesn't feel great. Um,
Feels real bad.
although you could also argue that like PKing is PKing takes two forms, at least as far as I can tell. There are the fights where it is agreed upon how the fight's going to go down, right? PvP worlds, for example,
Mhm.
risk fights where everyone has the same gear,
Right, right. There's
and then
there's
there is the one that everybody hates, which is when you're walking through wilderness with your clue scroll and your spade in hand, and someone rocks up with ice barrage and just starts.
Yeah, fuck that guy. That
No,
guy's a
right?
dick.
I think that adding powerful mage gear to free to play would definitely improve the organized PvP, right? Where two people who both have
Right.
tribrid just decide, hey, let's have a fight in free to play, add the arrows and all. That would be
Right.
cool.
I think that'd be super sick cuz like I've recently kind of been getting more into the PKing scene in free to play. And it's a lot of fun just sort of tooling around on these little low level accounts. They're not super high investment, so you're not like really worried about it. I'm funding my low level free to play pure off of just all the junk from my Ironman accounts that I don't care about. Like I get a random granite longsword drop. I don't give a crap. I drop it over to my pure and freaking sell it. Like
Mhm.
I don't care.
Taking
And
part in the economy, baby.
oh yeah, dude. Um,
Converting you.
but it's fine. It's super cheap to fuel these accounts, and they're loads of fun. And I really want to see that get evolved a little bit.
Hmm.
Would be really really fun to me. And that would definitely make me want to go PK more. Is if I could get into some like really interesting fights with some people in and I know right now there are technically interesting, but everybody's doing the same thing. There's really only one build that's that really has KO potential in free to play, and that's it.
In free to play, yeah. The problem with free to play is that it's always going to just be one build.
That's where I think this mage thing could change that, though.
Hmm.
Is
Like,
that
how are you going to KO someone in free to play with mage?
well, it's not necessarily that because you still have your binds and stuff. So if you actually had good mage gear, you could land those binds. And you could actually use that to your advantage because if somebody in free to play is rocking out there, I don't know why somebody would do this, but like if somebody's rocking out there in full rune, smashing people with a
Yeah.
rune scimitar to rune 2H combo, you come over with mage and then they have to change up their entire tactic. They've got to go range
Hmm.
now, but then so
Yeah.
you're just starting to make it more interesting now,
Hmm.
right? And so by basically giving it the full tribird option, you're then allowing and saying, okay, so like you can adapt now. You can actually
Hmm.
start doing interesting things. I don't know. I'm
They
also
tried to
not huge into
poll.
PKing.
They tried to poll like level 85 or something bind spell that would also be accessible to free to play.
Oh my god, that'd be amazing.
It failed the poll twice.
Series by how much? Do you
Um,
remember?
loads.
Dang, dude, really?
It's a PvP update. Like that's the issue, right? Is they're never gonna pass.
Ah,
Um, but
that'd be so
I
cool.
think that would also be very cool.
Because
Like
then
I
that's
think
basically
that
free to play Barrage. Why don't they just make the level 51 free to play then?
I don't know, man.
Like that would that would
I
that
don't
would
know.
suffice.
I also don't think that Jagex has ever been one to balance around free to play because every single
But
bit
they
of like
do.
large content they give to free to play uh, is going to reduce their subscription by some amount.
I guess, but I mean they do throw free to play a bone every now and then.
Yeah, I think Beginner Clues is a really good example.
Because I think the important thing, a healthy free to play player base, um, maintains a healthy game, in my opinion. If you have a good free to play experience overall, then you're gonna continue to keep players there. So like, because for me, like when I'm going through times when like I don't have enough money to afford membership or whatever, and I'm also like not super like active in the game, so I like whatever, I cancel my subscription and I leave for a bit. And but then what always brings me back is I just kind of want to hop on, and so I just hop on to free to play. And
And you
like,
kill some dark wizards.
yeah, dude, you kill some dark wizards, man. You freaking, you go safe spot some greater demons, dude. If you're getting real crazy, you get some high alks and you go safe spotting at ogresses. Ooh, getting
Holla
spicy.
holla.
But it's fun. It's a good time, and I think it's when I get to free to play and I have those moments. I don't know. I made a whole video about coming back from free to play. But
Yeah, no, that's an interesting thought actually. Like the free to play community as such is like the first thing that people see,
Mhm.
right? Because most people don't just buy membership straight up.
No.
I would imagine.
No. And
I
for
I know that. Go ahead.
for people who are trying to earn bonds, like I know, like the thing, if I don't know how much time you've spent in free to play recently, but like people talk about earning bonds, and there are people in free to play like just fishing lobsters to get bonds. Like they're doing that. And
When I first started playing old school, I was tanning hides and crafting gold amulets to try and make a bond.
yeah, you've been there. And
I made like a mil cash from that.
there's a lot of people that want to get into the game, but the only way that they can play it is free to play. And so, yeah, I think free to play at this point is long overdue for a decent update to change up the meta for combat a little bit.
I mean, I
'Cause
know that for a fact. If I have any friends that I genuinely care about, like actually getting into RuneScape, I straight away buy them a bond.
I can't afford that.
Yeah, like I understand that, but like I have the means just from my account, right? It's very
Yeah,
high total. I can make the money. It's not an issue. And
yeah, and that's a fair. And then I mean
and I
that's
do
you
that
being a good
purely.
friend.
No, but I do that purely because I know that the free to play experience can be terrible, right? And I don't
Yeah,
want them to get turned off by it straight away because you definitely need to be a certain kind of masochist to enjoy the free to play
right,
side of RuneScape, right? It's
right.
not
It's a
as
special kind of
it's
special kind of
it's
hatred.
not the greatest, right? It's not the greatest.
It's the kind of hatred I love. All right. um, Another note I wanted to touch on. Uh, so we can talk mage gear real quick. So the stuff that's being introduced. Did you want to talk about that or nah?
Yeah, sure, dude. I mean,
Well, I mean I don't want to go
I
over it
think
too
I think
too
the
too
stuff that they're
much.
trying to introduce is interesting from a like seeing the old school dev team's thought process.
Uh-huh.
Like I for one really like the fact that they're trying to bring new life to the split bark stuff.
Mhm.
Like their ideas for like blood bark and soul bark are awesome. I really like the. I think the bonuses are a little bit strong.
Mhm.
Like chance of soaking melee damage by a bunch is monk ass. But I think it's a good idea to bring back that like iconic set, and also the fact that they want to add robes that are actually viable in the end game against certain enemies.
Yeah.
Right, so I think that they
I
pitched three of them. There was like a dragon one, there was an undead one, and a like a venomous one, which you'd pretty much just
yeah.
use it like Zora and Lizardman.
Yeah. And I love that because it it takes mage and it gives it so much viability, and it's great. And I feel like, and flame me if you want for this, but when RuneScape 3, despite the way that they did it, when RuneScape 3 balanced the combat triangle and made magic
Mm.
viable and made range and made them all equally as viable, that opened up so much. It felt like you could really start playing the character you wanted to play instead of
Mm.
being constantly annoyed by like, oh man, to do this I gotta make this much more money, or oh, to do this I've gotta like do all these quests to unlock this particular piece of armor, or, like, oh, it was a ton. So you just went to, sorry, my mic is like falling away. You just go to Melee because it's all there. It's all just easy.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I think that it's very interesting from a design perspective of you want to go somewhere in melee gear, right? You want to go kill a thing with melee. What armor do you take right now? You can take some combination of barrows and right? Most people, I would argue, when they do Slayer, take Proselyte top and Verax skirt.
Wait, shoot, you're cutting out a bunch,
If they're
dude. You might need to just restart this thought.
Is it better now?
I don't know. Hang on. Keep talking.
It should be. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Oh,
Is it? Okay, I think it's good.
all right.
Sorry,
So-
start this thought over now.
Right now, what gear do you actually take when you use certain combat styles? All right. So if you're using melee, right, doesn't really matter what you take. Take something tanky, right?
Uh-huh.
I would argue during Slayer, people take like Proselyte top Verax skirt for the most part, and then you have your super high end, which is Bandos, and that's it. You have Obsidian in the middle there somewhere, but that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Then you have ranged, Black D'hide, Blessed D'hide, Armadil. That's it. Right? There's very limited scope there as well. And then you have Mage. You have Mystic, you have Arims, and you have Ancestral. I think all of the combat styles right now
Yeah.
have an equal amount of options. And if you're going to bring in a big update to making robes and saying, here's a robe that gives you damage against this thing, here's a robe that gives you damage against that thing.
Say the mage ones again.
Mage ones, currently,
Yeah.
you have Mystic, you have Arims, and you have Ancestral.
Ancestral. So
I'm talking from like mid-game onwards. So obviously you have blue robes, you have like leather bodies, you have like iron plate, like, you know, there's loads more at the lower tiers, but this is when it actually begins.
Mystic sucks though. That's the thing.
Yes.
You can't, like Mystic is garbage against everything. You can safe spot like a little bitch and do pretty bad damage against everything if you want. Like that's Mystic.
Against what do you need magic attack bonus? Zulrah.
I guess.
Like, nothing has magic defense. When you go questing early on, right, you never think, you know what? I'm gonna go and buy a Mystic top before I do Fight Arena. Because without this Mystic top, it's gonna be really hard.
Yeah, but I guess it's like there's so much more variety. There's so many more options when it comes to melee and even range.
Is there?
Maybe not range, but definitely melee.
If you view all of the Barrow sets as their own thing, maybe. I sure as hell don't.
I guess maybe that's where it comes from. Maybe the Barrow sets. I don't know.
Because you have Obsidian armor,
because
right?
I guess it's the fighter torso.
The
fighter torso is what throws it off for me right now, and the defender. The fighter torso and the defender are
the defender
really
is
strong.
a weapon.
And the boots, and the availability of the rune and the dragon boots also strongly favors, because it strongly favors.
Yeah. Okay.
Melee.
But then why are you trying to make robes?
The overall cost of like Arims and Ancestral versus some Bandos, or even just like full DH or something, you know, just like some normal like high tier 70 melee armor, like is so much cheaper than Arim or Ancestral or Infinity, right? Those are super expensive things that are very inaccessible to the
DH
average
is comparable. DH and Arms is comparable. Ancestral and literally anything else is not comparable. Maybe you could compare Ancestral to Armadillo. In any case, all of the top tier God Wars Dungeon / raid stuff is expensive.
Yeah,
Maybe it's not the same level of expensive, but they're expensive.
I feel like they should just
all of the barrows is kind of even.
I saw a post recently that said that they should just change the stat requirements on some of the newer items.
Yeah.
Right.
I saw that too. Like Tebow should be 90 range.
No, I think Tebow should be 80 range.
I don't think it would change anything. It literally wouldn't change anything.
It wouldn't change anything except for the meaning behind it. You know, because I feel like what kind of sucks is that it's like I have you know what 75 defense right now.
Yeah.
At 75 defense, that's pretty easy to get. That's pretty early on in the game. Talking like on the scale of maxing, right? Pretty early on, you're gonna get 75 defense, and from that moment forward, you can basically wear all of the best armor in the game forever. That kind of sucks. Again,
yeah.
Balance is my best friend. I love balance, and that doesn't feel great. It feels like getting the rest of those levels is just like, yeah, sure, my stats are better, but it's like, I didn't unlock anything.
There's nothing there to unlock.
That's these higher armors should be there.
If you rebalance it, it's not going to change anything.
It does though.
But you only have bandos. There's nothing else.
Well, like no, but like I'm not saying it.
If they add something,
there's not going to be a tier 80 gear for everything right away.
No, but like I mean, if they add something with like an 80 defense requirement, right? They would have to justify that it is considerably stronger in the defensive stats than anything else that came before it. That has implications way like that has way more implications than you need to get level 80 to actually equip this thing. No, you have to justify the fact that someone has to get level 80 by making it stronger, right? Which is power creep.
Okay. I mean, yeah.
Like,
but
Bandos and the Barrow's armor is not that far off defense-wise. Obviously, the Bandos is more offense, right? You get +6 strength bonus. That's big. But defense-wise, they're very, very comparable.
No, I'm not talking about... Okay, I'm talking about, like, Justiciar.
Mm-hmm.
Correct me if I'm wrong. That's actually 80 defense, isn't it?
I don't. Let me look it up.
I actually think it might be.
Justiciar armor. 75 defense to equip.
75 there it is. Okay, well, feels bad, man.
Yeah, okay. This could use a higher defense level. That is fair enough. Yeah. 75 is a bit low.
That's Justiciar's tanky, man. Real tanky. I think
only if you wear the full set.
I think there are some items in the game right now that have like Justiciar, like the Twisted Bow, that have enough of a overall power differential that I think they should be considered the next full tier.
All right. What are you changing if you make them the next full tier?
Well, it changes a few small things, but
because let me phrase it this way, right? Someone buys Justiciar.
Okay.
Right? There are 3 worlds in which this is possible, right? Mum's credit card to buy bonds or real world trade gold. You have an account which has a lot of money, right? Therefore, your stats are probably relatively high, and you already have above 75 defense on that particular account. Or you made a new account specifically for a purpose. For example, there's like really cool defense tanks that wear like an Ellie and stuff. You know, like it's one of those accounts, right? Because you have a main account that's funneling it money.
For a game
an account like that.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, continue.
an account like that, which you're just funneling money into, like a defense tank, it's beneficial to have this armor have a low defense requirement because it means that you can actually equip it. But for anybody else, changing the defense requirement by 5 is not going to change anything. Because you're already a player with high stats and you're a rich guy and you have that level.
I guess in most cases you're right. Part of it, for me again, is just part of the overall design philosophy of the thing, right? And like I said, Jagex breaks all the rules. They break them. They just toss them out the window, and it bugs me. It bugs me sometimes, and maybe this is just one of them. It bugs me a little bit.
I feel like instead of restricting the item's usage by level, they're restricting it by, on the one hand, difficulty to obtain. Because let me actually look this up. Twisted Bow requires 75 range, same as Blowpipe, right? Nobody is going into Chambers as Eric with lower than 75 range. I'd argue nobody's going in there and actually doing kills lower than like 85. Right? So they're balancing the power level.
I'm not thinking about how prohibitively expensive these things are.
Yeah. So like the balancing of the Twisted Bow is not the fact that it has like 75 range to wield. It's that if you're an Ironman, it's hard as balls to get. Right? And you're gonna have like 90 range by the time you get it. Because you need to do like
to get like 200 mil for a Twisted Bow. That's about what they are, right? 200 mil?
They are 1.2 bill.
Oh.
They are 1,117 million GP as of right now. If they were 200 mil, I would have one.
I did not know they were that expensive.
Nobody who cannot equip it has 1 bill lying around. Nobody with lower than like 90 range has 1 bill. Just like, oh yeah,
that's
we'll just
so much money.
Justicia is 76 mil for the whole set. That is a little bit more affordable.
Okay, I now understand. I take back everything.
Right?
Holy cow.
The power level is not justified by the level that you need to equip the item. It's the price point and the difficulty of obtaining that matters in that like
that's so crazy
equation.
That's okay.
It is right. It's a bill, man. Why can't it be cheaper so I can have one? Pepe hands.
Okay, I understand so much more. These are the oh man. All right. Well,
these are the things you're missing out on. Ironman life doesn't know Twisted Bow's a bill, man.
Ironman life. All I know is just got to get to those chambers, dude. You just grind out the chambers for a couple of weeks, you'll get one.
Weeks, TM.
I mean, hey, if you do that day in day out, I'd say probably within like 3 weeks playing 10 hours a day, you'd get a Twisted Bow.
I mean,
all you did was chambers.
Most people that I've met, it's taken them somewhere in the realm of 1,000 raids.
Yeah, couldn't you could do 1,000 raids in 3 weeks.
Assuming 30 minutes a raid, you could do 20 raids a day, roughly. That's like what?
That's
50 days?
I don't know. I've got a calculator.
It's 50 days for 1,000 raids.
3 times 7.
That's like a month and a half.
Times 20 equals...
Bit more.
It's 420. It's 420 raids. I'm super serious right now. If you're doing 20 raids a day, every day for 3 weeks, it's 420 raids. Go do the math.
Solid.
That's great.
That's the weed number, dude.
That's the weed number, man. Okay.
No, but like, what I'm trying to say is that it should take somewhere in the realm of double that time, on average, in theory, to get a T-bow. And that's assuming you have people to raid with, because doing a 30-minute raid on your own is very difficult. So, and doing solo raids, you would actually, I believe, require more raids, because you're getting less points on like per hour on average. That's semantics, I think, but in any case.
Damn, dude.
Finding
Okay, so
someone else
that's
crazy enough to raid 10 hours a day for like a month and a half is hard. I have tried.
all right, all right, all right, all right. I'm a crazy person. All right, let's move on to do we want to talk about imbues? Is there much to say there?
I
It's
think there's so much to say with imbues. I think that is like
really?
the
All right,
I
well
think
then why
that
don't
is the bit of warding which everybody agrees with.
I think I agree. I'd like to see imbues because right now on my account imbues don't really matter because I can't access the nightmare zone.
Mm.
And I most of the items in the game that are currently able to be imbued, I can't even get those items anyways.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter to me that much anything about imbues. I'd like to see some imbues that I could use or that would exist for me. I don't know.
Um,
It's just
so on the one
completely
hand,
irrelevant.
right?
Yeah, yeah. Go
On the
ahead.
one hand, the issue with imbues is the fact that it's 2013 Jagex design, right? It's like go to this place, do a thing for like a few hours, and you get a power bonus, right? It doesn't fit the story of RuneScape, right? There's no connections to lore. There's nothing
But I do want to
behind it.
say real quick to their credit though, me ever the friend of the developer, at the time, Nightmare Zone was very well received and it served a very good purpose in f- fixing problems and pain points that the players at the time had with the game. At
Yeah.
this point, it's gotten a bit gratuitous because we've begun abusing the kind gift that the Jagex team gave us at that point.
Um,
I don't really
I
use Nightmare
still
Zone. I
think
don't fully
Nightmare Zone is
understand it, but
good.
that's my general understanding.
I think Nightmare Zone as a game mechanic, as a thing that exists, is really good. I
Okay.
think using Nightmare Zone to get redirection scroll is really good. Herb boxes, not so much, but that's whatever, man. Right? I
Complicated.
think that the imbues don't fit Nightmare Zone. There's no reason why they should be there. I think that if you stick the DK ring imbues and you connect them to something to do with the Fremenic place, right? If you take the crystal bow and shield imbues and you connect them to Prifdinus, which they're actually doing right now, that at least that's something which they were talking about in the recent Q&A streams. That's really good, right? It fits thematically.
Hmm.
I think the issue with imbues is it's like there's no excuse, unless you're a NoCoins Ironman, to not get it. It's literally just you go there, you kill the thing, you get the imbue, you get a permanent power buff, and there's no downside to it. There's no reason, there's no world in which you don't imbue your Berserker ring,
That's so wild to me.
right? Because it doesn't degrade, right? It's just, oh, here, have extra power with no downside.
Hmm.
I think that in and of itself is fine. Extra power, no downside, fair enough. I had to go out of my way and do this boring thing to get it. That's fine. But that boring thing also happens to be like the best training method for melee and range, at least. Okay, maybe not for range because you can chin, but like it's very efficient to do melees at Nightmare Zone, and it's really AFK. So it's like, at least the argument that I've heard is that the experience that you get from Nightmare Zone is enough of a reward in it of itself to make Nightmare Zone worth doing, right? And I think that if they can find a way to put imbues in somewhere else, I don't think imbues should get removed. I think imbues are really cool. But they were saying you could add imbues to magic, right? You could have like a spell on the Lunar Spellbook that could let you abuse stuff. You could. There was also a thing of like moving the Nightmare Zone to the Lunar Isle, but that was just a really cool idea. Doesn't functionally change anything.
I think that would be cool though.
Yeah.
I don't like that it's in Yano. Like it's so weird.
And the other thing was that people suggested that imbued rings should be tradable. right? That if you can't get the magic level for it, just buy it. I think that's really cool as well.
Huh.
I just think the current state of imbues is bad. I think it's really bad.
Yeah, I'd agree
I
with
also
that.
think that it could add a lot of scope of like an imbue. In my mind, doesn't necessarily have to be just a buff to the stats.
I'd
Right?
like to
It
see
could be a cool
imbues.
effect.
I'd like to see imbues either as an extension of magic um or runecrafting, honestly.
Hmm. That would be cool.
I like the idea of like taking your berserker ring into like the deep into the Karamja jungle, and like you have to like dig into a hole, and there's like an ancient like altar in there, and it like is made from like some stone from another dimension that like is pure fucking runic energy,
Mm.
and it's like you like imbue that shit. You like submerge your berserker ring, and it comes out all like green and covered in like nature fucking essence. And it like and
Nature
different
ring.
there could be different types of imbues, dude. There could be different, so you could apply an imbue to like, so you could apply like a power imbue to something, and it gives it better strength. Or you could apply like a defense imbue, so like you could make like a berserker ring that has better defensive bonuses. So you could like, you could do weird stuff like that.
Which would be dead content on release.
Well, not necessarily.
It's a cool idea, but nobody would use it.
Ah, man, I would use it. I would use it so much. I love defense. I
I
love
think
it.
there is a lot of scope in RuneScape as a game to make a boss fight where you need to have a dedicated tank.
Yes, like this.
Because right now,
You
the
need to be able to
concept is
specialize, though. That's the thing that RuneScape doesn't give enough of right now, is specialization. You're too generic with everything.
are
Sorry.
you?
Hmm.
Are you really?
You listed 3 item sets for each combat style as
Yeah.
like the go-to best in slots for like pretty much everybody.
Yeah. No, but I mean, like, if there was a boss where tanking mattered, right? Then automatically, full Justiciar and Adins would be what you would take.
That's true. That's
Those
true.
are items
You're right.
which
It's more of a
nobody
mechanical
uses.
thing. You're right. It's more of a mechanical thing. I think that more customization would allow for that to become more obvious. So like a great example of this is this guy that I saw. I don't know how, if anybody else saw this or not, or if I'm just seeing weird videos, but I saw this guy who was testing out. He was like, I kind of suck at the game, but I'm kind of all right. So he basically he wanted to do the Inferno. And so he was just like, I hear just this year's really, makes Inferno easy. And he was just kind of like, I suck at the game, so let's see how easy, if it makes Inferno easy enough. And then he went and he did the Inferno like on his second try. It was amazing. It
With
looked.
full Justiciar, he melees things?
I don't he I don't remember the details of things, but yeah, he was in there with full Justice here, and he was tanky as fuck.
That's whack, alright.
He was just standing in the middle of shit, and he was just like, yeah, I'm not really taking much damage. He was still having to like juke things around corners and stuff, but there were parts
That's
where he was just
crazy.
like, he was able to just tank through, and he was like, holy shit, I just tanked that. That could have been a 50. And he kept on having moments like that, but when it could have, like when he screwed up, he just kept tanking instead of getting one shot. It was amazing.
I guess that was like my method of killing Hydra.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, uh, defense is not currently viable for anything because it hasn't been pushed far enough. But when you do push it pretty dang far, it means that like at a lower level, lower skill level, you can do things that people with more skill could have done way longer ago. But it just means that like noobs, aka Ironman and myself included in that, we can do things easier.
I also think it's a lot more to do with the fact that if you're taking less hits because you kill the thing faster, it's more efficient than just tanking the hits. Right? That's at least how it works now. So there would have to be a serious push to having more powerful defensive gear
Maybe a
for
boss
that
that
to actually
the
exist.
longer you can continue fighting it, so the longer you keep fighting it, the better your loot's gonna be.
That's super cool. I like that a lot.
Whoa, dude, that's a
No,
great
but like
idea.
this brings something to mind though as well as if you put in more and more defensive gear, does that make things more AFK?
Mm,
Because I AFK'd Hydra. AFK quote unquote. I killed Hydra while like playing another account and like watching a YouTube video and eating chips.
but like, what if that's kind of cool though? Like, think about it
Okay,
with me though.
I
Think about
wasn't
it with
killing it the
me.
fastest way.
Like, what if there were monsters though that like sort of had that incentive to like the longer you spend killing this, it's it's gonna be good for you in the end. But what if they were just like lower XP? But like what if that was sort of like a alternative to just like doing Slayer as your main combat training go to, but you could instead just be like, we'll just get some low rates, but like it makes me a little bit of money, and it's pretty AFK, almost the level of like fishing. You just kind of sit there, kill a thing for a while, click every now
Mhm.
and then. And so it would be kind of maybe a bit AFK, but RuneScape's pretty AFK already.
No, but I mean like right now, Slayer is AFK because like Slayer is AFK with full damage gear right now.
Right.
Because I stick on my Proselyte and I stick on my Prey Melee and I don't know, I go jerk off or something. Right? Like it's brain dead.
Right.
Because I literally take no
Yeah.
damage and I can wear all the damage things that I want.
So
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 anything where you would need to tank, it would need to have multiple attack styles. Like or else people are just gonna pray against it.
Interesting.
Right?
Well, yeah, sure. Well, it would attack with a no. I was
Maybe
thinking
an attack style you can't pray against. That's another thing which
yeah,
could
you could
work.
just give it hits through prayer. Like there are monsters that have that ability already.
Yeah,
Just this
there are.
these attacks ignore prayer. Okay. And that's just the mechanic. That's the trade-off with these guys. I kind of like. Oh man, I kind of like that. I think that's interesting. Jagex, go develop that idea.
Jagex
Um,
hire me.
Yeah, low-key Jagex hire me. I applied to Jagex once. We're not gonna tell that story right now.
I'll shit out ideas all day.
Oh,
Just
dude.
pay me.
I'll shit out code all day, dude. What are you talking?
I can't do that one. I can talk though.
Okay, last talking point here. We've come to it. If you're still here at this point, I don't know. I hope you're enjoying. The last one we're gonna talk about is combat.
Yikes.
Yowza. We've ignored it because, on the whole, I think we both agree. Combat, the whole combat section of wording should be just ignored. Like Jagex, we see what you're trying to do, and we'll get to that. But just like it should be ignored for the sake of this update and the content that's being sort of called warding, whether or not it's going to be a skill or just simply an integration of all these great things into existing content.
Existing. Yeah.
And maybe a rework of imbuing. Um, you know, all that stuff is great. Overall, I think the vibe on that stuff is positive. Needs work, but positive. Except for the vision dissolving, like fuck that, whatever. Combat is just like also just fuck that, whatever. Like it
It's bad, yeah.
just
Very
remove
bad.
combat altogether. But I think it's important that we talk about why it was even included, why they even bothered to bring it up, and that in short, just to cut to it, is because it's inevitable. RuneScape is a very, very, very simple game, and in order for the power creep, the everything that everybody's always talking about, what's the solution? The solution is gonna have to end up being combat changes somehow in some way, and it doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't have to be drastic. It doesn't have to feel bad.
EOC baby coming in.
No, stop
Mod
it.
Mark, call
Stop
up
it.
Mod
It's not
Mark.
that.
Let's
It's
go,
not. It
dude.
doesn't have to be that though. But it's inevitable, and this conversation is going to be had repeatedly. And that's why this combat session was even included at all, is because a
Because they want to
change
add
in the
complexity.
right, a change in the way that combat works makes it so much better to create new boss encounters and new raids and new all kinds of stuff. There can be all kinds of new items and gear related to that. You can have entire new armor sets that interact with, with wards and stuff like that like do all kinds of things. Then you could start having an actual dedicated support player that could then that where you start, like we were talking about earlier with the tank stuff, you could start having dedicated support, which would be incredible. Seeing if they could find a way to really balance that and make that really fun. And that really sort of gets me excited. And really, I want to say that I want to see it, but I know that at the end of the day, in this way, and the summoning, I'm not even going to talk about the whole summoning thing because that's just actually terrible. And just go away. But
Uh,
the combat wards, they're interesting, and I want to say that they're a good idea, but I don't think they are, in short.
why does it have to be something to do with warding?
It doesn't.
Why don't they bring out a raid, right? Like a new place, Grandmaster Quest, you go to the place, you do a thing, you kill a boss, right?
Sure.
Inside that particular dungeon, you can put runes on the floor, like these bigger rune stones, like these big blocky rune stones that do the same thing as wards would do. Or you can call them wards.
I'll
Who
tell
gives
you
a shit,
why.
right? Like,
I'll tell
and it
you
only
why.
works in that particular area.
No, I'll tell you why. It's because it only works in that particular area. So that means that if you want to engage in that kind of fun content and you like that content, then the only way you can do that is to go to that area. Now,
Mhm.
and that kind of sucks because we all know doing the same actual thing over and over again is terrible. And it's not fun and it ruins the game. And so the thing is that if you're gonna change combat, you have to actually change combat. You have to make it applicable anywhere.
I think my biggest issue with making it applicable anywhere, right, is that content is designed around a level of power that exists, right? If you add a layer to the power that players have, it doesn't have to be a buff or a nerf. It's just an extra layer, right? That adds complexity, right? That will guarantee that people will be able to kill things faster and better, right?
So what if you?
And you're
What
going to
if?
end up with RS3s like 5-second bandos kill.
Listen,
No?
here's my big boy solution to this. Ready for this? I went to a game design school. Here we go. Here's the solution because we were talking about it earlier. You lock it behind high tier stats. Right now, having high tier melee stats unlocks nothing for you. At tier 90, what if combat were able to change there? Or make it tier 99. Once you're max combat, now you're in the end game. Welcome to the big boy stuff. And that's where you can introduce the mechanics that
would
allow.
fundamentally ruin the game.
You think so?
Yes.
No. What?
You look at a game like WoW, right? Classic WoW, I'm talking
Sure.
about. I only know this, I never played it. I know a guy who is really into it. The only reason that a bunch of people I know are not going to play Classic WoW is because it's going to take several weeks, if not months, to level a character to get to endgame. They hate that leveling process. It is tedious and not good.
Well, yeah.
But they feel like they are forced into it because of this promise of endgame content, of something that's good to come, right? Right now, I think a beautiful part of RuneScape is that you can go to Bandos at 70 stats.
Yeah, but you can't
You
go
can
to
have a hard
servers at
time.
70 stats.
All right, hold on. You'll have a hard time, sure, but you can still kill it. And you can go with your friends, and there is no massive difference between what you guys are actually doing there.
Yeah, that's true. And I love that. I think that's great.
You say you can't go to Cerberus with low stats. You can. You can go to Cerberus with 1 in all your melees. Just cannon all of your Slayer. Cerberus is locked behind a Slayer requirement, not a combat requirement. That is a big difference.
Well, yeah, but it's like a huge Slayer requirement.
That's fair enough. But at the same time, that is just a boss. That is one experience.
Yeah, that's true. That's one. Well, I mean, you've also got Kraken. You've also now got Hydra. Like, there's more
but
than
I
one
mean,
experience.
that's not an entire layer of mechanics.
That's true, but
that
that's
is one place that you can go and one thing that you can kill.
and Zulrah, but these but
Zora's
that's
not
the
locked
end
behind
game.
anything.
Zulrah's locked behind quests, dude.
Yeah, but that's you can get those quests done within a day of creating your account. Tehran one did it, so
that's true. But I can't do them on my account. But so I'm jaded. But but all that stuff is the end game. Like that's the end game content, and it's all super locked behind basically high level. Like that's like a huge part of the end game.
you say that's end game content. Fair enough. No, I would argue that is end game Slayer. Minus Zora, obviously.
That's
right?
true. Okay, so the
Endgame
real end game
content
is
God
Chambers.
Wars, Raids 1, Raids 2.
I don't really count God Wars as end game. I call God Wars mid game, honestly.
Alright, I went there in the mid game. It sucked. I went there in the end game. I like God Wars now.
Okay. I mean, I don't know.
I don't
haven't
know.
been to. I can't go to God Wars on my account. I don't know.
Yeah.
Fucking NoCoins.
It kind of blows unless you like flat 90s. Like, it's fun, especially if you go with friends. Then it's really good. But
yeah, I don't know.
I'm now at a stage where I'm happy to go there solo.
I don't know. Most of my experience with God Wars is in RS3, so I'll just not talk about God Wars ever again.
I think that one of the beautiful things in RuneScape is that you are not forced into anything.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this is something about invention which really spites me. Right? Is that you want to train invention? Alright. Get level 80 smithing, crafting, and divination. Then you can go knock yourself out.
See, I kind of like that.
That feels so anti-RuneScape to me.
Because
the beautiful thing in RuneScape, in my mind, is that I'm playing RuneScape now. Alright, what do I want to train? I open up the skill menu. It's free pickings. It's fucking open season. Right? I like that. If there was a thing like, okay, it's a super cool mechanic, you can place wards everywhere. In order to do it, you're gonna have to get 99 in all your combat stats.
Well, okay, maybe
some people might look at that as a goal,
and not necessarily 99 in all of them. I just threw that out there as a thing. Yeah, I think 90 is more
right?
More reasonable.
Some people would look at that as a goal. Someone who really likes PVM, would look at that as an obligation. That would be something which is like, all right, you want to do PVM? Fine. I force you to get 90s in all your combat stats.
Right. Well, and this is where, it's up to the individual. Then it's a subjective thing, and it's complicated. But I definitely see what you're talking about there, though. And I understand where that mentality can come from. I don't have that mentality. To me, 90 would be a goal. It'd be like, man, I can't wait to get there, and like, I'm still enjoying the journey while I'm going.
I think if it was a different game, if it wasn't RuneScape, I would agree with you wholeheartedly.
But it's RuneScape. It's this weird game that breaks all the rules and somehow
gets
away with it.
Open-ended.
It somehow gets away with it. Maybe that's sort of the magic of RuneScape. It's so open-ended. It's just it's too open-ended to a point.
Do you want to go and catch an exploding guinea pig?
But at the same time, it's all the weird little bits and bobs.
Get like 53 Hunter from catching butterflies, and you can catch an exploding guinea pig.
What? There's
Open-endedness, dude. Do you want to catch an exploding guinea pig? Hell yeah, I do. All right, go get your hunter up. How do I get my hunter up? There's like 40 different ways.
yeah. There's like
There'll
a
be a
billion.
fastest one, but at the same time, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Go
Yeah.
catch something,
All right. Yeah.
right? I also think combat's really good in that, right? It's like you want to get your combats up. All right, go hit something.
Mhm.
You want to train to 99 on cows? Go ahead.
Yeah.
It's probably not the
So
greatest.
yeah. Yeah. Combat's complicated.
Whoops, sorry. That was a hell of a tangent, and I have another tangent which I could very easily get
What's it about?
about like the culture of efficiency in RuneScape.
Oh gosh, let's save that one for another time. I think we've
Yeah,
already been
I
going
think
for
that's
like
fair enough.
super long time. If anybody's made it
Yeah.
this far, props to
Thanks.
you.
Yeah.
If you have made it this far, leave us a like if you enjoyed this at all, or if you didn't enjoy it, tell us why. Constructive feedback is always welcome.
Yeah.
Uh,
Any feedback that we can actually tangibly hold on to and be like, this comes from the community is always very helpful.
yeah. All right. Well, any last thoughts there, Jewish?
Say nay to warding.
I don't know what to say though. I think say native wording for now, but let's
I
let's
think I
let's
think
get Jagex
it
to add in the good
introduces some
stuff.
ideas, right?
I
It introduces some ideas that could be good. They could be good. They almost say they're on the verge.
I'd like to see warding. I'd like to see Jagex formally say we're gonna nix warding and instead do a rune crafting rework.
Ooh,
Right? Like if they just said like that's what we're gonna do in the same way that um, RS3 said we're not doing a new
smithing.
skill, we're doing mining and smithing rework, and they like followed through on that, and it was amazing. I want to
Yeah,
see the same thing happen with runecrafting and old school. I
man,
think that would
I'm
be really great.
300k off 98. I won't get to use it at all.
I'm sorry, man, but
Pepe hands, man.
this isn't going to be out for years, dude. So you're going to have a max
Yeah,
cape for years, and nobody's
yeah,
going to reap the benefits of this. Plus, they're probably not going to make the XP rates any good anyways.
yeah. I think
Because
that's
nobody's
something
going
which you have
to
to
want to
respect.
like super break that. They're just going to make them like moderate, maybe more of just like an AFK or alternative or something like that. I don't know. We'll see what happens. We've given our thoughts here, and we've rambled at the end, so that's bad. Okay. I'm gonna stop recording now.
The ramble is authentic. Thanks for watching, guys.
Oh man, that was crazy.